And we're back, baby. GM yet again, which means good morning in Web3 crypto land. Thanks for making it this far. Episode 2 of ELU Yaps, baby. Where are we going? Who the hell knows, but we're going to figure out in real time. The more I was thinking about these types of videos and what I want to talk about, the more it dawned on me that I think it's important to contextualize people and the masses at large with what Web3 is. What the hell is Web3? You hear it all the time, at least in crypto land. It's Web3, Web3, Web3. What does that mean? What does that mean? Let's get into it. I'll tell you. They say if you can't explain something on a third grade level, you don't know it well enough. So let's give it the old college try. So in order to understand Web3, we need to contextualize ourselves with what Web2 is. So Web2 is, if you think about Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or Meta or Amazon or eBay or whatever. Web2 means you make an account and log in. And this is Web2. You need an account for this, you need an account for that, you need an account for that. And so it's effectively places that you log in with credentials, username, password, different usernames, different passwords on all these different platforms. These are Web2 for starters. What else makes them Web2 is that your data and your content that you're contributing in and participating in and adding to isn't yours. It's not your data. So as much as I upload content on Twitter or Instagram or TikTok or whatever, we use these platforms and we share our content, but the content when it hits these platforms is effectively the platform's content that they're free to do with whatever they want with. So Web3 introduces this whole ideology where you own your data. So Web2, traditional companies and platforms that we all know and are familiar with that have different emails and logins to interact with and use. And our data is not effectively our data, and our content's not our content. We share it here, but they own it. The exciting thing about Web3 is it's you own your content. So if there's a video game that is a Web3 video game, the assets in the game, the skins and the avatars and the characters, I own all this stuff. They can't freeze my account and take it from me and say, we shut you down. It's all decentralized and permissionless. And that's why I think there's also an introduction of new words around it. So Web2, you have your accounts. In Web3, you make a wallet, which is even more confusing because how does that really make sense? But I think it's important to understand these things in order to contextualize why this is such a cool thing and the implications of all this stuff and the direction that the internet effectively is heading. So company or games like Fortnite or Counter-Strike or World of Warcraft, these are owned by these Web2 companies and designed in a way that they're effectively what's called a walled garden. So you create these accounts that give you access to play this character and get these games and in-game currency, but it's contained, it's siloed. It's not meant to be taken out of there. It's siloed in here. This is very Web2. The Web3 way to do things is permissionless and decentralized ownership. So if a Web3 game came along, I could own the item in game and then sell it outside of the game. It doesn't need to take place within the game. Think about a currency in real life. Okay, you don't need to. You can pay whoever $5 to do something for you. You don't need to conduct the business in a certain way that's through the silo, through the account. If I want to send money through Wells Fargo, I got to go on the portal. I got to send it this way. They got to approve it. It's this whole multi-step process, and it takes permission. They have to grant me permission to use my own assets. Web3 is permissionless, and that's the whole exciting thing about the blockchain space at whole. I think we saw in real time Bitcoin bring in this whole decentralized finance, and then Ethereum as well. And what that means is you don't need permission to interact or exchange with assets that you own. I don't need permission from anybody. As long as I have the keys to my wallet, have the keys to this Web3 account, I can send whatever I want to whomever, as long as I have their receiving information, receiving wallet address. It just gets confusing because I think since a lot of this tech is like new and emerging and being innovated on in real time, things like DeFi, which is short for decentralized finance, and Web3, these terms get thrown around, and wallet, these terms get thrown around, and they're just very confusing to outsiders. But I think it's important as a Web3 participant, custodian even, if you will, who participates in this space, to educate onlookers from the outside, to try to inform them what's really going on, because it's not totally that complicated. Technically, it's pretty complicated, but you don't need to understand the technicalities of it in order to use it. So the reason why Web3 is exciting and powerful is it's effectively your account for all of the internet. So in the App Store, you have apps that require your Apple login to interact with. And the decentralized application layer of the blockchain internet, we have dApps, which is decentralized applications that you interact with using your wallet, which is effectively Web3's version of your account. So it's exciting because instead of having to make an account for Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, blah, 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 Web3 brings in this era of accounts, which are called wallets, which is like one account to rule them all. So imagine you can interact with this app and play this game and send money here or buy this item online, but you just signed the transaction to confirm that it's you who wants to do that, instead of logging in all these different times, changing your password, having a password reset, getting locked out of your account, blah, 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 blah. These are Web 2 pain points. Web 3 brings in this new era of I own the wallet that gives access to all these different dApps that I'm interacting with. So I'm effectively the owner. I'm steering the ship. New captain's in charge. This is my ship. So it's exciting because it's disruptive in the way that previous Web 2 companies and games exist, like Fortnite, Counter-Strike, World of Warcraft, Pokemon Go. These systems and games are designed in a way to be siloed. Fortnite and Counter-Strike doesn't want you to take or transact their assets outside of their game, because that takes away money from them. They want to be able to say, okay, this is all contained in this silo that we've designed. You can't take it out of here, because that means we can't introduce these microtransactions, so the avatar you got is now got a different price or something like that. So these Web 2 companies design these games and these platforms in a way to keep things inside. They don't want you to take them out. And what's interesting with Web 3 is it disrupts this whole thing. So imagine you get a skin in a Counter-Strike game or a Fortnite game, and you can go to a decentralized marketplace and sell it to someone who's willing to pay $50 for a skin that you got in a game elsewhere. That's this whole other internet economy of decentralized assets and decentralized finance. It seems like complicated, but it's really not that complicated. It's just going to take a while before we get to a global level where this is accepted in a way and normalized. It's just that the powers that be and all these gargantuan zillion-dollar companies have all these games that exist in this siloed way that they don't want you to take their assets out of the game, because it's going to disrupt their revenue models of being able to charge you for this, that, and this and that. The decentralized way is you're able to take one asset from a game out of that game's ecosystem and be able to sell it elsewhere. But it's going to take a long time to get there. But effectively, that's what Web 3 is. So Web 2, accounts, login credentials. Your data is not your data. You're using these platforms. Your content's not your content. You add to it and you contribute to the feed. You contribute to the content, but it's not effectively yours. Web 3 introduces wallets, which is a fancy way of saying accounts on the Web 3 level. So in Web 3, you really just need one account, one wallet, and you can interact with all this stuff. You don't need anyone's permission to send money, to place a bid, to play a game. It's yours. You're the custodian of it. You're the arbiter of your dreams, baby. Pretty cool. So this is the sort of time that we're in right now. There's this newly emerging and awakening shift of there's Web3 happening in real time where people are seeing the opportunity and building for it, but so much of old money is laggard and exists in the Web2 land. So Web3 is an inevitability, just like the adoption of the internet is an inevitability. You got to be online in this day and age. Web3 is as well. It's just that how and when we get there is going to be something that I think evolves in real time. Web3 is something that you should be excited about. You should do research, and maybe the next video I'll do will be about what it means to make a wallet, how do you make a wallet, how do you interact with dApps, all that type of fun stuff. But this is the sort of message I wanted to get across, is that Web3 is the evolution of the Web2 internet as we know it. All these app platforms and YouTube and all this TikTok, Instagram, all this stuff, these are Web2 companies, Web2 platforms. If you make an account to log in, you're using Web2. A wallet, which is basically your access pass to interact with the whole blockchain decentralized application space as a whole, that's your Web3 pass. That's your Web3 account. Your wallet is your Web3 access pass. And you only need one account. How cool is that? You don't need to make a million different logins with a million different credentials. You just need the one ring to rule them all. So that was a lot. I hope it made some sense. See you next time on episode 3 of ELU Yaps.